So I'm gonna try to make this quick because there's a lot of things I want to talk about. House Bill 445, opponent testimony was a couple days ago, and then Senate Bill, was it 293? The first hearing for it, or the reading of it, was the same day. It was interesting to watch Josh Williams and Al Cutrona, both attorneys, not really talk about any of the legal parts of Lifewise or RTRI in general. Josh did berate one of the parents who testified about release forms, but didn't really talk about any of the RTRI legal stuff. I think the big problem that I have and a lot of people have with it is that it is so entangled with the school. Lifewise specifically, a lot of other RTRI programs are not. But here's what Zorach versus Clausen says, and I'll read it. The school shall do no more than release students whose parents so request. So Lifewise requires that the school send a letter on school letterhead to Lifewise saying that Lifewise is legal. Lifewise tries to get the schools to integrate Lifewise into the schedule as one of these specials. Art, music, gym, library, STEM, technology. Lifewise will send around questionnaires and surveys and ask the school to do that. They will bring in food and things like that for the school. There's a lot of things that happen between the school and Lifewise that is more than just the school shall release the students. No more than that. If any coercion or anything else is done, Zorach versus Clausen said that it would be a completely different case. So I feel like that's the main part, is that none of that should be happening. Also, Josh Williams and Al Cutrona and Gary Click constantly talk about how the school can do whatever they want with the policy. So if they want to make a policy where you can only be released one day a week, you can do that. If you make a policy where if your grades are not at a certain level, you can't attend Lifewise. If you want to make a policy where if your attendance, if you want to make a policy where behavioral issues, they can choose which students can and can't attend. I think that's also wrong. I think if a parent wants to sign their child out, as Zorach versus Clausen says, a parent should do that. The school should do no more than release the student. The school should not be figuring out ways to get 100 kids on and off school property. If 100 parents show up and sign their kids out and take them down to the church and then bring them back and sign them back in, great. But the school should not be coordinating with a third party. Williams and Al and Click also think that you can mandate how Lifewise does background checks, does hiring, does training. You can't do that. They're a third party, a completely private entity. They're a nonprofit. I'll call them a company. They're just a third party company. The school should really not even have any idea what is happening there. They shouldn't know what religion it is. They shouldn't know that it's Bible, class versus something else. I think the line is very blurred. I think it's too blurred. And I think everyone is trying to, Al and Josh and Gary are all trying to make it sound like that isn't happening. They're trying to distract, to say, well, the school can do whatever they want. You can't do whatever you want. You can't do whatever you want. That's crazy. And they're a third party company. You can't tell them how to do things. What you can do is say, this is how we want to run our school. That's it. That's all. So I don't know if Josh and Al just forgot about that. I don't know if they didn't bother to read the case law. They are attorneys. Josh said that when he was kind of yelling at a parent, so I don't know. If you want to feel like reading the case, Josh, maybe. I don't know.
So I want to concentrate on what this bill does. It changes one word. It makes it where the school boards have to adopt a policy but it provides no guidance for what that policy is. It could limit it to only during lunchtime, only during recess. It could limit it to just 1 day a year for release. There's no guidance from the state on what the policy is. That's the discretion left up to the school board. Schools can come up with a myriad of policies. They could say that a particular entire class is not allowed to participate in this release time if their scores are below a certain level.
I think parents should have the preference to be able to choose, not the politicians, what's good for their children, number one. But also, when it comes to the policy, you talk about what's in the policy, what's not in the policy, and so forth. And we talk about these decisions being made local. There's nothing more local than the home, number one. Number two, the policies, cannot the local school boards correctly write a policy that says you must have this background check, or you have to do it at this time, and you have to have these qualifications, all the things that people are asking. Rather than the state micromanaging everything, we are saying each school board must have a policy. And is the school board capable of putting those policies that everyone asks about in their local policy?
I forgot one more thing. Al Catrona, in his testimony, said that going to Lifewise is no different than when he would ask his parents to go on a school field trip. Again, I think this is crazy that attorneys are making an argument that says that Lifewise is the same thing as going on a school field trip. It is not a school field trip. It's not a school field trip, Al. I don't know if you've read any of the current RTRI law. I don't know if you've understood how RTRI is supposed to operate, but it appears that you don't at all. Don't know any of it. It appears that you don't know anything about the bill that you introduced. It is not a school-sponsored program. Got it?
I do believe that I see some information regarding liability for something happens to that student. How is that covered?
Well, the chair to the representative, I would say that this would be no different than when I used to go to my mother and have her sign a release so that I can go on a school trip. I mean, you're leaving the premises, it's the same situation.